Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. This one is just for you, ready to go. Today, we're heading way back to ancient Greece to meet a philosopher you may not have heard of before, Diogenes of Apollonia.
Oh,
He
exciting.
may not be a household name like, say, Socrates or Plato,
hmm
but his ideas are surprisingly relevant even today.
I'm
And
intrigued.
trust me, they'll definitely get you thinking differently about something you do every single day: breathing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's right. Because Diogenes had some really unique ideas about air. He didn't just see it as, well, air. He believed it was the source of everything. And get this, he even thought air was intelligent.
Intelligent air. Okay, you've definitely got my attention now.
Let's start with the basics. Who is this Diogenes guy?
Well, we know he was from Apollonia Pontica, a Greek colony on the Black Sea.
Where is that now?
It's modern-day Sozopol in Bulgaria. Good trivia,
They
right?
love it.
Yeah. But when it comes to the details of his life, things get a little murky. We have very few sources, which in a way makes his work even more captivating. It's like we're piecing together a puzzle.
A philosophical puzzle. Okay, so let's talk about his big idea. What was so radical about Diogenes' thinking?
Well, he had this incredibly bold idea that air wasn't simply what we breathe, it was actually the fundamental substance of the entire universe.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. Everything, according to Diogenes, originated from air and would ultimately return to it.
Everything. Wait, hold on. You mean everything. Everything, like rocks and trees and animals.
Exactly. He even believed that we, as humans, are, you guessed it, made of air.
Wow. Okay, so how did he explain this idea of like air transforming into, well, everything else?
All right, so this is where things get even more interesting. Diogenes believed that air wasn't just some passive substance just floating around. He believed it possessed a unique quality, an inherent intelligence, a divine force. That's what guided its transformations.
Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Intelligent air, you say. So, like, if I feel a gentle breeze on my face,
Uh-huh.
is that air, like, contemplating the mysteries of the universe or something?
Well, Diogenes would probably say yes. He genuinely believed that this intelligence was woven into the very fabric of air. It was influencing everything that happened. It was the driving force. Actually, he had this analogy he liked to use.
I love a good analogy. Lay it on me.
Imagine a puppeteer, controlling the strings of a puppet. To Diogenes, air was kind of like that puppeteer. Except the puppet wasn't made of wood and cloth. The puppet was the entire universe.
It's a really powerful image. So we've got this big picture thinker, seeing air as this cosmic force connecting everything. But did Diogenes ever zoom in a little closer? Like, how did he think air worked within living things?
Oh, he absolutely did. In fact, we actually have a fragment of his work that describes blood vessels in pretty remarkable detail. This shows us that Diogenes wasn't just a philosopher gazing at the stars. He was also interested in the intricate workings of the human body, the nitty-gritty, so to speak.
Wow, I love that. A true Renaissance man. But it makes you wonder what it must have been like to study anatomy in ancient Greece. No fancy microscopes or high-tech labs.
Oh, I know. It would have been truly hands-on stuff. They would have relied on dissections and really, really detailed observations. It's fascinating to picture Diogenes carefully studying, like, the network of blood vessels, trying to unravel their secrets.
And it makes me wonder, with his understanding of air as this fundamental substance,
Right.
do you think he saw a connection between the air we breathe and those intricate blood vessels?
Oh, that's a really great question. I mean, it's tough to say for sure what he thought because we just don't have all the pieces, but it is a fascinating possibility. It seems pretty clear he was really interested in connections, the unifying principles that held everything together. The world was a connected place to him.
And it's amazing how this idea of interconnectedness, everything being linked together,
Yeah.
it's so relevant today. Think about fields like ecology and systems theory.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that makes studying ancient philosophy so exciting. That these ideas might seem strange or even a little outdated when you first hear them.
Yeah.
But when you really dig in, there are these incredible echoes, these seeds that were planted centuries ago. They're still sprouting up new insights in our modern world. It's amazing.
Love it. So, speaking of connections and big ideas,
Sure.
did Diogenes have any influence on other philosophers? I mean, he wasn't working in isolation, was he?
He definitely wasn't. Some scholars even think that his ideas might have actually influenced one of the most famous philosophers of all time, Socrates,
Wait, the Socrates,
the one and only.
the guy who basically made questioning everything his whole deal.
That's the one. We don't have direct evidence of them hanging out like, Socrates sitting at Diogenes' feet.
Right.
But there are these fascinating parallels between Diogenes' ideas and how Socrates is portrayed in a play by Aristophanes.
Oh, interesting. So even back then, philosophical ideas were bouncing around, influencing and inspiring each other. It's so cool to think about.
Yeah.
And speaking of connections across time, did you know there's actually a type of meteorite named after Diogenes?
I did not know that. What?
Uh,
That's amazing. Because he was actually one of the first people to suggest that meteorites came from outer space.
really?
Yeah, which was a pretty revolutionary idea at the time.
Whoa. So he wasn't just looking at the air around him. He was looking up at the stars and those streaks of fire in the sky.
That's right. It just shows you how far ahead of his time he really was. He truly was a visionary thinker.
Wow. Okay, so we've got this ancient Greek philosopher who thought air was the source of everything, who believed it was intelligent, and who might have even influenced Socrates himself.
Mm.
Plus, we have meteorites named after him. Diogenes was clearly a fascinating guy.
Absolutely. He really was. And even though he might not be as well known as some of the other philosophers we hear about, his ideas are still thought-provoking, and they still have the power to make us wonder today.
I love it.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, if Diogenes was right, and air is this intelligent force, what does that actually mean for us? What are we
Yeah.
taking in, really, with every breath we take?
It's a question worth thinking about, isn't it?
It really is. And you know what? I think it's a perfect place to pause for a moment.
Okay.
But don't worry, we'll be right back to keep exploring the implications of Diogenes' big ideas.
And how they might still be relevant to us here in the 21st century. We'll see you in just a bit.
A source of intelligence. It really is a powerful idea.
Yeah.
Diogenes was suggesting that something we literally take for granted every second of every day, the very air that keeps us alive,
Yeah.
might hold the key to understanding the universe and our place in it.
I mean, it makes you stop and think, right? Like, what if with every breath we take,
Yeah.
we're actually connecting to this vast cosmic intelligence? We know, scientifically speaking, that air is made up of all these different elements, but
Right.
Diogenes seems to be talking about something deeper, something more than the purely material.
Absolutely. And it's this idea that there's this deeper layer of reality,
Yeah.
this hidden intelligence that's in everything. That's really what makes Diogenes so unique. He wasn't just focused on the physical properties of air. He was interested in its potential
Potential for what?
as a source of life, consciousness, even divinity. Wow. Okay, so it's like he was trying to crack the code of existence, and to him, the answer was written in the air itself. I'm curious, though, how did he actually come to these conclusions? Did he, do experiments or rely on observing nature? What was his process?
It's a great question, but unfortunately, the historical record's a little thin on that. We don't have step-by-step accounts of his methods,
Gotcha.
but we do know a bit about ancient Greek philosophy. And based on that, it seems likely that he used a combination of things. Careful observation, really looking at the world around him, plus logical reasoning, connecting those observations to draw conclusions.
Makes sense. So what sorts of things was he observing?
He probably paid close attention to the weather patterns, the movements of the stars, the cycles of life and death. And from those observations, he developed his ideas about air as this unifying principle, kind of the force behind it all.
So he was like a proto-scientist in a way,
I like that. Yeah, exactly.
trying to make sense of the world around him, trying to find those hidden patterns that explained how everything worked.
Absolutely. And, what's really remarkable is that even though his specific ideas about air don't line up with modern science, the way he approached knowledge, that spirit of inquiry and observation, is very much in line with the way we think about science today,
Right.
the scientific method.
It's a good reminder that back in ancient Greece, science and philosophy were deeply intertwined. They were both ways of trying to understand the universe.
For sure.
But let's circle back to this idea of intelligent air. If air really is some kind of cosmic intelligence, what does that mean for us, for humans?
Right. Well, Diogenes actually believed that this intelligence wasn't just out there in the universe. He thought it was present within us, too. He saw the human soul as an extension of this cosmic air, a spark of the divine that animates our bodies and minds.
So our ability to think, to feel, to experience the world
Uh-huh.
is all connected to the air we breathe.
Exactly. That's what he believed. And he even went a step further, suggesting that the quality of the air we breathe could actually affect our thinking. and our perceptions.
Really? So like better air, clearer thinking.
He seemed to think so. And it makes you think about things we say even today. You know, how fresh air clears your mind, or how being in a stuffy room can make you feel sluggish. Maybe there's something to that.
Right. Maybe Diogenes was really onto something.
Yeah, I think so. We know there's definitely a connection between our physical environment and our mental and emotional states. And even if we wouldn't say it's because air is intelligent, the idea that our well-being is linked to the quality of the air we breathe, well, that makes a lot of sense.
Totally. It makes you think about breathing in a whole new way.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting oxygen into your lungs.
Right.
It's about connecting with this vast, invisible force
Yeah.
that's all around us, that's flowing through us.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the most powerful messages we can take from Diogenes. He reminds us that we're not separate from nature. We are nature. We're constantly interacting with the world, exchanging energy and information through the air we breathe.
Wow. Okay, so this brings us back to the question you asked earlier about the nature of this intelligence.
Yeah.
Did Diogenes believe that this air intelligence was conscious? Did he think it had, like, intentions or goals? What was he getting at?
Well, that's where things get even more tricky.
Okay.
Diogenes, unfortunately, he didn't give us a clear-cut answer, but his writing seems to hint at the idea that this intelligence wasn't like a human mind
Okay.
with thoughts and desires and stuff. He seems to have thought of it as more of a diffuse, impersonal force, kind of like the laws of nature that govern the universe.
So more like a fundamental principle that guides how the cosmos unfolds,
Yeah.
rather than a conscious being with a plan.
Yes, I think that's a good way of putting it. And it's important to remember that the concept of intelligence itself was different back in ancient Greece. They didn't necessarily equate intelligence with, a mind like ours.
Right.
It could also refer to the order and the purpose they saw in the natural world, just the way things work.
That makes sense. They saw intelligence as being woven into the fabric of reality.
Exactly. And this idea of the universe as inherently intelligent and having a purpose, it's something that pops up in lots of cultures and traditions.
Yeah, that's true.
Even today, a lot of people find meaning in this idea that the universe isn't random, that there's a deeper order to things, some hidden intelligence at work behind the scenes.
It's something we seem to crave, don't we? That connection to something bigger than ourselves.
I think so, yeah.
Finding meaning and purpose in a world that can feel pretty chaotic and unpredictable sometimes.
It's true, and that's one of the things that I find so fascinating about Diogenes,
Yeah.
His ideas still resonate with us today. They offer us this glimpse into a worldview where the universe is alive, it's intelligent, it's interconnected, and it's a view that really challenges our modern assumptions. It invites us to rethink our place in the grand scheme of things.
It really is a humbling thought, realizing that we might be more connected to the cosmos than we even realize, and not just through the air we breathe, but through this deeper, invisible intelligence that connects everything.
Absolutely. And maybe, just maybe, that connection is something we can actually tap into, not just through science, but through art, music, poetry, even just by taking the time to contemplate, to observe, to be present in the moment.
It makes you wonder, what Diogenes would make of our world today with all our technology and our increasingly complex understanding of the universe. Would he be surprised by what we've learned? Or would he see it as, like, confirming his intuition?
That is a fantastic question. I think Diogenes, with his insatiable curiosity, I think he'd be absolutely thrilled with all our scientific discoveries. Can you imagine? He'd probably be poring over textbooks
Oh, totally.
on astrophysics and quantum mechanics and evolutionary biology. Just amazed by how much we've learned.
I can totally picture it. Him looking through a telescope at a distant galaxy or peering through a microscope at, like, the inner workings of a cell, just seeing it all as this proof that the universe is this intelligent, interconnected place.
I think you're right. And you know what? I think he'd be especially intrigued by the concept of energy and how it flows through everything, connecting it all in this vast web.
Oh, totally. He might even see that as like a modern validation of his ideas, about air being the fundamental substance.
Yeah, exactly. It's like his ideas that were once considered so radical are now finding new life through our modern scientific understanding of the world.
It's amazing how that happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
And speaking of connections, Diogenes wasn't just some lone wolf thinker, right? His ideas were part of a bigger intellectual conversation that was happening all around him in ancient Greece. Did he have any students? Followers?
Yeah.
Kind of carried the torch.
That's an interesting point. We don't actually have records of specific students or anything, but we can see his influence in the writings of other philosophers who were wrestling with similar questions about, the nature of reality and all that.
Yeah.
And, we touched on this earlier, but those parallels between his ideas and Socrates' ideas, it really suggests that there may have been a connection there, even if we don't know exactly what it was.
It's like his ideas were these seeds that were scattered on the wind, taking root in the minds of other thinkers and influencing the course of philosophy for generations to come.
That's beautiful. I love that. And I think it reminds us of just how powerful ideas can be. They can transcend time and place, and they can shape how we see the world and ourselves. And for Diogenes, his ideas about air being the source of everything, about the universe being interconnected, about this hidden intelligence, they still resonate with us today. They give us this fresh perspective on our relationship with the cosmos and our place in it all.
Wow. It really is an incredible legacy for a philosopher who, most people have probably never even heard of,
It really is.
but whose ideas can still spark our curiosity
Right.
and make us question everything.
Absolutely. And I think that's the perfect note to end on. Diogenes, the philosopher who saw the universe in a single breath, he reminds us that even the most ordinary things can hold extraordinary secrets. And that the search for truth, it's a journey, it's timeless, it's personal, and it's something that each of us can embark on.
So well said. And for all of you listening out there, we really hope this deep dive into the world of Diogenes of Apollonia has left you with a little more wonder and maybe a little more curiosity too.
Remember, be like Diogenes. Don't be afraid to ask questions, to make connections, to see the universe with fresh eyes. You never know what amazing things you might find.
It really is amazing, to think that we're still talking about Diogenes and his ideas after more than 2,000 years.
I know, right? It's incredible. It just shows you how powerful his insights were and how they still speak to us, even across all those centuries.
Absolutely. It's a real testament to the big questions, the ones humans have always been asking.
Yeah.
What is reality, really? What is our place in all of this?
Yeah.
Where does life come from? What is consciousness? The big ones.
Yeah. And, those questions, they cut across time. They cut across culture. And Diogenes, with his focus on air as this unifying principle, he offered such a unique perspective. It's still challenging us. It's still inspiring us.
And I think what's so striking is that he didn't just give us these abstract theories about the universe. He brought it back to something we can all relate to, that everyday experience of breathing. He saw the air we breathe as this tangible link to the cosmos.
Right.
It's a reminder that we are not separate from the universe. We are a part of it.
Exactly. He took something that seems so ordinary, so mundane, like breathing, and he turned it into this really profound philosophical idea. Every breath we take, it becomes this act of participating in the universe, in this constant dance of creation and change.
It's like he's saying, hey, pay attention. The answers are right there in front of you, or rather entering your body with every breath. It's a call to be mindful, to be present, to really feel that connection to everything.
I love that. And it's also a reminder that even now, in this modern world we live in, with all this technology, with everything we've learned about the universe, we are still part of the natural world. We haven't escaped it.
We're still breathing that same air.
Exactly, that same air that's been circulating through the lungs of every living thing. Since life began on this planet, it connects us all.
It's a beautiful thought when you really think about it. It's so easy to take air for granted.
Yeah.
But it really is this precious gift. It keeps us alive. It connects us.
It does. And Diogenes, by focusing on air, he invites us to think about it differently. Not just as something we need to survive, but as this key to understanding the universe and our place within it.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the fascinating world of Diogenes of Apollonia, what would you say is the most important thing for our listeners to take away? What's the one thing you want them to remember about this ancient Greek thinker?
That's a great question. I think the core message of Diogenes, the one that still rings true today, is interconnectedness. He saw the universe as this unified whole, with air as the fundamental substance, the thing that connects it all. And I think that's a message that's maybe more relevant than ever, especially now, when we often feel so disconnected from nature, from each other, even from ourselves.
Yeah, I agree. It's a call to see the world with new eyes, to see those connections, to remember that every breath we take is this deep connection to the cosmos.
Exactly. And, maybe as we go about our day, we can all take a moment to pause, to breathe deeply, and to remember Diogenes, the philosopher who saw the universe in a breath of air.
Beautifully said. And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. I hope it sparked your curiosity and maybe inspired you to see the world with a little more wonder. Remember, there's always more to discover, so keep asking those questions, keep making connections, keep breathing deeply. And until next time, keep on learning.